Hey guys, how's it going? So in this video, I'd like to talk about why I never had children. Now, I've been checking out other YouTube channels and listening to the thoughts and ideas from other commentators and vloggers as to why they never had kids, be it both men and women. But I figured I would offer up some of my ideas and my thoughts and reasons as to why I never had kids. So, first obvious reason, if you've been subscribed to this channel for any length of time, you will know that I am a childhood cancer survivor, and this March will be 35 years since I was diagnosed. I was only 2 years old. Now, the chances of me reproducing are actually in the air. I don't know if I can reproduce. And the reason for I say that is because the chemo and the radiation, the treatment that I sustained during my battle with childhood cancer, it may have affected my ability to reproduce. I never got tested for this, so I don't know if it lessened or killed, obliterated my chances of reproduction. But I have heard this a lot with men and women alike, that the treatment, it affects a person's ability to reproduce. Again, I have not been tested for this, and the reason for that is because I don't want a stranger in a lab coat telling me that I can't have kids. In the off chance that I find somebody and we want to start a family, I want to know, for myself. I want to find out on my own. I don't want a stranger telling me that I can't reproduce. And something else about that too, finding the one to settle down with, that never happened for me. That's why I never had kids. When I was growing up, even as a preteen, I didn't have a lot of girlfriends growing up. I was an anomaly, I guess you'd call me. I just wasn't. I wasn't desirable to girls. I didn't have a lot of girlfriends. I was single for most of my teenage life, and all throughout my 20s, I really didn't have a lot of girlfriends. Very few, and when I was in relationships with these girls, they never lasted. Matter of fact, I just got out of a relationship, excuse me, with a girl. We broke up on January 1st. So I prefer the single life. I prefer to be single. I prefer to not have kids. My thoughts and ideas and feelings about relationships and families changed since my teens and 20s. The older I got, because I'm going to be 38 this July, the older I got, I just learned to adapt to this idea and to be okay with this idea that I could never be good enough for a woman, or let alone be good enough to be parent material. And I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. Even in the off chance that I could reproduce, I still don't think I'd want kids. Even if my treatment from cancer didn't affect my ability to reproduce, I still don't think I'd want kids. I like my freedom. I like to be alone. I like to be by myself. I knew when I was a kid that I was different. I just like to be by myself. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that, but I just don't want people around me all the time, like I don't want that constant in my life. I don't like a lot of noise. I like quiet time. I like to be able to concentrate and reflect on my thoughts, and to concentrate on things that really interest me. And I don't want my time to be used up changing dirty diapers and trying to keep a roof over my kids' head, keep food in their stomach, clothes on their back, things like that. I don't want to be bombarded and saddled with that kind of responsibility. I love kids. Make no mistake, I love kids. I'm good with kids. But as long as they're not mine, I'm good with that. Like, my nieces and nephews, I love them dearly. But after so long, I have to isolate. I have to, that was my dog. I have to isolate because it gets to a point where it becomes so overwhelming that it's like I have to go to my bedroom, or I have to go for a walk, or I just have to go for a drive somewhere. I love my nieces and nephews, make no mistake, but they're not my kids. And if it gets to a point where they become overwhelmingly unbearable, I can remove myself from that situation. Uncle Jared loves you, but I can only handle so much of the screaming and the ruckus, the kids running back for it. I can only handle so much of that. Some people, they love hearing the sound of kids screaming for no apparent reason. I mean, we all did it. I did it. And I'm sure I drove my parents crazy with the constant screaming and running and for no apparent reason, just because we're kids and we can get away with that. You got to have a tolerance for that. And I don't think I possess that tolerance. And it's not even just that. It's, let's say you fall out of love with the person that you created a baby with. Well, then you've got child support. Then you've got alimony or palimony or whatever they call it. Then there's that to contend with, and custody disputes. And it's just problem after problem after problem after problem. And it seems like a never-ending bottomless pit that you just continuously sink, and you just keep sinking and sinking and sinking until you can't take it anymore. And you just want out. And, it's not good. It's not good. Now, I have friends who, most of which are single parents, and they're good parents. Make no mistake, they're excellent parents. They're good providers for their kids. They work hard. They teach their children to set goals and the importance of setting goals. And they are all about their kids. They love their kids. Make no mistake. But then, being a single parent, it makes it harder for someone who's single without kids to want to attach themselves. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want a ready-made family. If I'm going to be a parent, I want to be a parent to children that I created. I don't know if it's a biological macho man kind of a thing, but I would rather be a parent to children that I created. I have nothing against adoption, but adoption's really not my thing. If I wanted to have kids, I would have created my own children. And again, that's to say if I even can reproduce. But I don't want to adopt children. And most guys, and I know it sounds horrible, but most guys do not want to step up to the plate to clean up the mess that somebody else started. These are your kids. Why isn't the child's father in the picture? I mean, there are extenuating circumstances, and I'm not denying that at all. Please don't think that I would deny that. There are extenuating circumstances as to why the child's father is not present in the child's life. But I don't want to deal with baby daddy drama, and I don't want any part of it. And kids are expensive. We haven't even talked about the cost of raising kids. Diapers, formula, clothing, keeping a roof over their head, schooling. Oh my word. It's just so fucking expensive. I see how other parents struggle, and it gets expensive on them because kids are so demanding. They got to have the best of everything. Got to have this, got to have that. Designer this, designer that. It's like, holy fuck, kid. It's a lot. And even when I go to the department stores, right, I'll see people with their kids, couples with their kids, and you can hear them screaming at the top of their fucking lungs from the toy aisle because they want the latest, whatever toy is a hot commodity these days. They got to have it. And if they don't get it, they're screaming up a storm, creating a scene, drawing attention to themselves. And, I kind of walk by the aisles just to see where the scream is coming from. I'm a rubbernecker, I know. But I'll kind of walk by and kind of glance over, and it's like, what the hell? This kid is mad. He's on the floor, you know, throwing a fit because he wants a toy, and the parents are saying no. And after they walk away, I'll kind of circle back around to see what it was they were looking at, and I see why they didn't get the toy for the kid. It's expensive. It's expensive. When I was growing up, toys were cheap, man. It didn't take much to entertain us kids. And I come from a different generation, before this, like YouTube and iPhones and TikTok and all this shit we got now. We didn't have that when I was growing up. So for us, in my generation, it didn't take much to entertain us. But kids nowadays, they are so demanding, and it's expensive trying to raise kids. It is expensive trying to raise children. And I see why so many men and women opt out of having kids, and it's perfectly okay. And I know a lot of people say they never had kids because they don't like kids. Well, kids don't bother me. It's just the idea of being with them constantly. It's like, I don't know if I could take that, I don't know. I don't think I'd like that. Now, the quality of women nowadays, and this is no attack on women across the board, and it's no slight on women, but the thing is the quality of women nowadays is just, it's garbage. It's garbage. And I say that because women, it just seems to me, and this is just my own personal projection of how women perceive themselves, as how because I see how they perceive themselves. It just seems to me that you can never satisfy a woman, no matter if you're a good person, a bad person, because women go for the bad boy types, which, a lot of men don't understand why the women go for the bad boy types. For the longest time, I questioned that myself. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the bad boy types are more daring, and women kind of like a guy who is willing to take a risk, daring, getting, which at the end of the day, if the guy gets in trouble, he's going to drag you down. You don't want somebody like that, or at least I wouldn't want someone like that in my life. But women seem to like guys who are always in trouble, rap sheets, whatever. No, I have never been in trouble, so that immediately disqualifies me from that particular type of woman. And if you're not a bad boy getting in trouble, you have to be rich and handsome. Well, I'm not rich, nor am I handsome, and so that immediately and automatically disqualifies me from those kinds of women. So where does that leave me? I'm not a bad boy and getting in trouble. I'm not a menace to society, and I'm not rich and handsome. So that kind of puts me right in the center of the road. I'm neither here nor there with women, because they want someone they either have high standards and want the best of the best, or they just don't give a fuck, and they go for the guy who's always in and out of jail. And so much to the point where it becomes a career. I'm neither of those kinds of guys. And, so that's why I never settled down with anybody. I never had kids. One of the reasons, because the women are just, the quality of women is not good. It's just not good. And I love women. I'm into women. It's just that their standards are either too high or really, really just low. Not even on the chart. But yeah, it never happened for me. I never had a lot of girlfriends growing up, and I always wanted to keep to myself. I didn't really want to mingle too much. I just like being by myself. And the older you get, you learn how to adapt to the single life. A lot of people are desperate to be in love with somebody just to keep from being alone. Well, here's the thing. Whether you are with someone or not, It is not going to slow down the process of aging, and it's definitely not going to stop you from dying. So when someone says, well, I don't want to die alone, well, you're going to die alone even if someone's there. It's not like they're going to join you like, hey, I'm dying, you're going to fucking die with me. I'm going to fucking kill your ass and then I'm going to kill myself. That kind of thing. No, it's not like that at all. The fear of dying alone for me is irrational. It's an irrational fear. For reasons that I outlined why you shouldn't be afraid of death on its own merit. But the fear of dying alone, I mean, when I'm dead, how am I going to know if they died with me? I won't know. I'll be fucking dead. So what does it matter? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. There's no reason to fear that. But the fear of dying alone is just something I never understood. I don't fear dying alone. I actually just like to be by myself. It's relaxing, less drama, less stress, less everything. And I think the reason why child abuse has gone up so much in this country, I actually outlined this in one of my editorials that I recorded some time ago. It's the fear of missing out. Everybody has kids, and then these people want kids. Oh, well, they have what I want. I want to have kids. Yes, but you're not prepared emotionally or financially. You are not prepared for that. You have a kid. That kid is going to keep you up all hours of the night, crying, screaming because it's hungry, it's wet, wants to be held, that kind of thing. And the next thing you know, it drives you crazy so much to the point where you end up abusing that kid. And then you have your kids taken away. Then you end up in prison for child abuse. Having kids is not for everybody. And I'm not making excuses for child abusers, but that's usually what happens. It's the fear of missing out. It starts out as minuscule as the fear of missing out. Trust me, you're not missing out on anything. I'm not making excuses for child abusers. I am not one. However, I see why there's an uptick in child abuse cases in this country. There's always this thing where parents are trying to be their kids' buddies, which I think is really fucking bad. It's horrible. You are supposed to be the child's disciplinarian, not their fucking buddy. They have friends. They don't need a 30, 40 something as a buddy. Try being the mom. Be the dad. They got friends. They need parents. That's where the whole thing with that just went south, man. It's just out of whack. It's out of sorts. And then there are lots of parents, this generation of parents. I'm all about protecting kids, and I realize that there are all kinds of dangers that lurk in 2024 regarding children. We have sex trafficking, we have online predators, we have people who are, sextortion, and there's all kinds of horrible things that children are up against nowadays in the day and age of the internet and all the technology. But there are people, parents in particular, who are so arrogant and cocky and just moody and bitchy when it comes to their kids. They think that they had a kid, they are above everybody else, when in fact, they're not above anybody. Because if you think about it, there were generations upon generations before you that led up to your grandparents and parents, which ultimately led up to you. There's nothing virtuous about having kids. There's nothing about having kids that makes you special. And no one can talk to your kids. Like, I could go to a grocery store and there would be a baby sitting in the front of the cart. I'm just walking by, minding my business, not bothering anybody, not talking to anybody. And a single mother, or maybe just a mother who's out shopping with her child, father's probably at work, husband's at work or whatever. The baby says hi to me and they wave. The little ones are, they do that inverted waving thing with their hand, and they smile and say, hi, and I say, well, hi there. Well, a lot of the parents, the mothers in particular, they throw a bitch fit. Like they roll their eyes like, fuck, don't talk to my kid kind of a thing. And it's like, really? And I get it. I mean, the world is not a good place. But knowing that the world is not an ideal place and things are just getting worse, why would you willingly sign up to have children? Why would you still, knowing that the world is a bad place, why would you take on the responsibility of bringing a child into the world and raising them? Why would you still go through with that? If the world, according to you, is such a horrible place, and yeah, there are lots of bad things that happen every day, but if you know this, why would you willingly bring an innocent life into this world? And then treat everybody else who's not you like a piece of shit just because they said hi to your kid. I deal with that a lot. And it's like, wow, you don't deserve your kids. Here's the thing. Having children is not a right. It is a privilege. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think that's one point that doesn't get brought up a lot in these videos or these vlogs where single child-free people or childless people talk about why they never had kids. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Because I see this myself, that having children for most people, it just made them bitchy and moody and arrogant and cocky and just straight up disrespectful. And they use their children as an excuse to act in that way. And I just can't get behind that idea. If the world's such a horrible place, then don't bring kids into it. It's really that simple. If you're someone who doesn't have kids, share your reasons in the comment section. Tell me why you didn't have kids or why you couldn't have kids. I'd be more than interested to find out what you have to say about this topic. So, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.